Welcome. I'm Carl Frederick, and I will be interviewing individuals for Kenosha Voices, an oral history project of the Kenosha County Historical Society in conjunction with Kenosha Community Media. I have worked in newspapers for more than 40 years as an editor and a reporter. 38 and a half of those years were at the Kenosha News. I am also a member of the Kenosha County Historical Society Board. We hope you enjoy these programs. I'm speaking with Carl Schultz, the owner of 5 Star Fabricating in Twin Lakes. Along with him is his daughter Haley, who's in charge of human resources at the company, and his son Corey, who is the vice president. Welcome. Thanks for joining me today. Start with you first, Carl. You are born, raised in Silver Lake.
Mm-hmm, that's correct.
Okay, and you started this business when?
We started this business in 1978, and I worked in a plumbing and heating shop in Silver Lake. We did a lot of heating work, everything related to plumbing and heating, and a guy that run an auto repair and gas station across the street also raced at the local short tracks, and he wrecked his car. And at the time, there was no such thing as an aftermarket body panel. You either bought brand new ones from the dealership or you got them out of the junkyard. So he come over and talked to me one day and asked if it's possible to make some sheet metal fenders and doors for his car to fix it. And so we did. And I kind of thought it was an interesting project, kind of a one-time only deal. And a couple weeks later, when he went back to the racetrack with that car after he had it all finished, after the race on Monday, went over to see him and asked him how he did, how the body panels performed mostly. And when I asked him, the only thing he said to me is that we need to make more because everybody in the pits wanted them. So
they all needed body panels every week, or what?
Well, yeah, that's racing. You know,
Okay.
They wreck your car from time to time, and you know, and factory body panels are expensive. They require an awful lot of work after you get them to fit the car. So these were custom made to fit the chassis at the time, and so this gentleman's name was Fran Preste, and so together we decided that we'll make a few body panels and make a few bucks and just see where it all goes, and that's kind of how it got us started.
You kept your job in plumbing and heating, and he kept the gas station, and you did this part-time?
Correct. We started every Tuesday night from 6:30 to 10 making body parts, and then it got to be 2 nights a week, then 3 nights a week, then weekends. It was getting a little bit overwhelming. We had by that time purchased a building in Twin Lakes, and we had a couple of full-time employees, and it just got to the point where I couldn't handle both jobs and everything else that I was doing. So there was enough revenue there for me to quit my job and run the company 5 Star full-time. And so I did that, and then the following year, Fran sold his gas station, and he moved in full-time.
Okay, so what year did you buy the building to build these panels?
We bought the building in 1983, and the same site where we're at now.
Okay, and then you retired in at what time?
I didn't retire.
Oh, I mean, you left your business?
I left my business, the business I worked at, my previous job in 1985.
Okay, and then he joined you in 86?
1986, that's correct.
Okay, now in 1986, what was the status of your company?
Well, we were growing. We had the first building that we bought was 4,200 square feet. 1986, we started on 2 additions that basically tripled our space. And so with us there full time, it allowed us the opportunity to sell more body parts, look for more to make more products to make. By that time, we only made steel body panels in the beginning. Then we started making aluminum.
When did you go into aluminum?
About the same time, probably within a year or so. It was just easy, the same thing, just making
How long did you
sheets of
make
aluminum
and sheet metal body parts before moving on?
Well, actually, we still make aluminum and steel body parts after all these years. There's a need for those, but we branched out into composites. We learned how to do that, and started in 1986 or 87. We started bringing that process in house, and then around that same time, there was a requirement for molded plastic parts, like the front end of the car, the back end of the car. There was something that we couldn't fabricate out of composites or metal, and they needed more durability. So we had a company thermoforming them out of molded plastic.
Okay,
And that
now,
started in '85
there are a
also.
lot of different cars out there. Now, you made body parts for all these different cars, or did you have a standard on which to start?
Well, in the beginning, when we first started, the Chevy Camaro was the body that everybody used. Okay, there was a few Ford Mustangs out there. A Ford Thunderbird actually is what they were using back in the day. So we, for the first probably 4 years, all we had was a Chevy Camaro. Then we made a Ford Thunderbird. And then in the later 80s, they were wanting different body styles. So we had a Lumina, a switched to a Thunderbird by that time, an Olds, a Pontiac. There was way too many body styles, but we did it. But we had to get a factory car and fit it to common rules. Fit it to a common chassis that everybody was using, and dimensionally the same as all the rest of them, so they would remain somewhat aerodynamically equal.
Okay, so once you moved into composites or plastic parts, how much of your business was still in sheet metal, aluminum, and how much moved to plastic at that time?
Well, they all combined to make the body. Okay, so the doors, the quarter panels, and the fenders were all aluminum or steel at the time. We needed a fiberglass roof and hood, so that's what we made that out of. And then the front and rear tail sections were made out of molded plastic. And so even to this day, that's kind of how they are. Now we have added plastic fenders, plastic quarter panels, and we also have a full line of composite body panels as well. So it's just a complete line of everything depending on the rules and where the cars are raced.
Okay, so initially you didn't make the plastic parts in-house. You made the sheet metal and aluminum, but you had another company making plastics?
Yes, we didn't have that technology or the equipment, so we had a company in Germantown, Wisconsin, making all of our thermoform parts for about 10 years until the mid-90s. And then we started making them on our own, and by starting up another company with a couple of other fellows that we had met in the industry, and that was Allied Plastics, who still is in Twin Lakes. And so we started making plastic, our own plastic body panels then in 1995, and then Allied Plastics grew to the point, and we grew to the point where it was time to separate our parts, and so we brought the process in-house at Five Star 2004.
Okay. So at this time in 1995, you brought back the parts in-house to make. Why did you choose to make them in-house at that time?
To control quality, lead times, all of that stuff. Pricing was getting a little out of hand, and mainly because our product line was getting so big, it was hard for that company to manage everything. And they were growing, they were getting bigger all the time, and we're having issues with third shift quality and delivery and everything, lead times and all that stuff. So it was time for us to branch out and do it on our own.
So in 2004, the two companies went their own way with their own customers.
Correct.
And you brought everything in-house.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We started out with 2 thermoforming machines. Now we have 3, and that does everything that we need.
Okay. And how many employees are at the company, Haley?
We have about 280 employees today.
And how many of them are in Twin Lakes?
That's a good question. I would say a fair amount are very close to our facility in Twin Lakes.
Okay. And what is sales like today? Whichever one of you is closest to that.
Well, sales are very good for us right now. We've experienced some significant growth over the last few years. I would say, our business was about 100% racing, I think, in 2008, and we really experienced economic decline at that time, and we thought that would be a great opportunity for people that want the similar products that we provide our racers. We're finding needs for outside of racing, so we've diversified our customer base, and now we do business in automotive, heavy equipment, mass transportation, aerospace, riot shields, ballistic glazing. So we do kind of a variety of everything, and our sales have come a long way over the years, and I think we've grown. I think we're reached about a $60 million company right now. and we got plans to kind of keep that growing. We've got a big facility, big complex, and we got a lot of equipment we got to keep running. So we're looking to really grow the business.
Are you running out of space?
We're getting
Always.
close. Yeah.
Always.
Okay, so what percent of your business today is auto racing?
Well, what I didn't add in is the fact that we brought in our making our own polycarbonate windows in 1993. And so that unit of business has branched out into other product lines, like Corey mentioned, all the other, aerospace, automotive, all that other stuff beyond racing. So our composite division, our sheet metal shop, welding shop, all of those, that's dedicated to racing. So if I was to guess, probably 60–70% auto racing, and the rest of it is polycarbonate windows and other markets.
Okay, how did you get into you were in the racing business to start with.
Mm-hmm.
And then this grew. How did you get so involved in auto racing? I mean, what lines of racing did you get involved in?
Well, it started out at oval track racing, and mostly hobby type racing on short tracks, mainly in the Midwest, but then we gradually branched out to cover the whole country. Then we developed a line of products for cars that race on the dirt. So that branched out and grew all throughout the country. Then we're asked to bid, because of our reputation, we're asked to bid on some drag racing drag racing products. So we do bodies for an NHRA series called Pro Stock and Top Alcohol Funny Car. We do those, and then gradually, as our reputation grew and our capabilities grew, we were asked to participate in some NASCAR work as well.
You were not the only body part manufacturer at the time in the 90s when you were going into plastics?
There was a lot of smaller ones around, but none of them had the ability to produce everything. Some of them were specialized in sheet metal, some of them were composites only. And so there was really no other companies besides us that combined all of them could offer all the products in-house.
And was there an issue having different companies making parts for cars?
Yes, it's hard to control your quality, just like I mentioned with the plastics. Hard to control your quality, hard to control lead times. Pricing is an issue. So it just become very important for us to control all of that. So we gradually acquired all those technologies and brought it all in-house.
Racing has rules.
Yes.
They have rules about car parts and tolerances. And how did that factor into the need for somebody to step up and develop some kind of coordination control of how these things were going to be in racing?
Well, in the racing world, everybody's looking for an advantage. So somebody made a body that configured one way and thought to be the most aerodynamic. Somebody will make a version that they think is more aerodynamic. And it was kind of getting out of hand, costing the racers a lot of money. So we established a program that kept everything in control. It was called the ABC program, Approved Body Configuration Program. We provided templates, a complete set of rules, installation instructions, tech inspection instructions, and it was all designed to control the shape of the body, to keep an even playing field for all the racers and keep their costs down so they're not constantly having to change to the next best thing.
Okay. So did this become a standard
It is the standard in the country right now
today? But
for short track racing.
Okay. And when did you branch out outside of racing while you were still obviously focused on racing? When did those types of plastics or that division start moving into other fields as well?
Yeah, well,
Say around 2008 when we started.
2008, the racing industry was in decline at the time because of the economy, and a lot of our customers in racing are hobbyists that spend expendable income on their hobby, which they love, and their passion is motorsports. But when the money's drying up on the economy, sometimes they retract their spending and on their things they enjoy doing, their hobbies. But racing was still strong, but it opened our eyes a little bit. And especially with the polycarbonate windows, we saw that there were other people that had a similar need to what our customers had on the racetrack, like motorcycles, for example. what we really specialize in with our polycarbonate windows is, if you've ever seen clear plastic, sometimes you'll see them real rippled or distorted and hard to look through. What we really offer to the market is an optically perfect viewing window, so which is hard to do. We've developed a lot of processes and developed a lot of materials over the years to get perfectly optically perfect windows. So we saw that the Harley Davidson was a customer. We identified at the time they had a similar need as our racers for good clear windows. So we targeted them, and we got them to buy, as a big customer, to buy all of their coated polycarbonate sheets from us that we would coat and supply them. Then we saw some other customers.
And also to add on to that, we do make a lot of complete windshields for the parts and aftermarket division at Harley Davidson too. We make them every day for them.
Where do you find the employees to do these specialized jobs?
Yeah, great question. All over, and we always laugh because it's hard to find somebody with experience doing what we're doing in Twin Lakes, Wisconsin. But what we found is that there are so many transferable skills that would apply to what we're doing. I think we do a really great job of doing all of our training in-house, so you don't necessarily need to have a lot of previous experience in this specific market to be able to learn how to do it.
Are there any specialized skills that you need to look at when looking at certain jobs to fill?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a lot of very specific jobs that require a higher level skill. But like I mentioned, a lot of skills are transferable. A lot of times people with hand or power tool experience, people who like working with their hands and are very artistic or detail oriented typically work out very well for this line of work.
Do you have any experience with people you've brought in, maybe not with the specific skill needed, but were knowledgeable enough to take what they knew and then be able to apply it to what you needed?
Very much so.
Yeah.
I can identify two people that work for us now that are brilliant process engineers that had no experience in racing whatsoever. I'm not even sure if one of them had been to a race yet. But anyways, one example was my neighbor across the street. He was a home builder, very successful home builder until the 2008 housing crash, and he had nothing to do. And so I knew he was a smart guy. I said, come on in, just work for us and look around and see if you can figure out better ways of doing things. And he took a real interest in our composite division, and he's gotten down to the point where he develops his own fabrics, works with the resin manufacturers to get our own chemical combination for resins, and had no knowledge of composite manufacturing back in the mid-2000s. Now he is probably one of the most brilliant process engineers in the market, in the racing market right now. So because of his work is why we have all the NASCAR series that use our bodies, because the rigidity and the durability and everything that he built in. The other fella was a guy that we knew we used to go duck hunting with all the time. We knew he was a brilliant guy too. We brought him in as a process engineer for our window forming department, and he's another, probably never been to a race yet either, but he's developed some fantastic equipment, ovens, you name it, he's done it all, and one of the smartest guys I know. So we're lucky enough, like Haley said, there was a lot of people around that had an interest in doing our business. It's kind of a unique industry, exciting products to build, and so we're able to get some very, very intelligent people to come and work for us. And those are just two of many. Yeah, so.
Okay. And how did you get involved with NASCAR series?
They approached us because of our reputation for quality and our composite blends to provide, and while prior to NASCAR approaching us directly, we were doing a lot of parts for the NASCAR market as a subcontractor for GM and Toyota. And so our parts have been on NASCAR Cup parts for 25 plus years. And so because of the durability that we could prove to them that composites had over steel, they had us do a body for one of their lower series, ARCA series, and that ran them for a couple of years to prove the validity of composites. Then they gradually kept moving up. Now all of the NASCAR, Big Four NASCAR series all use our composite bodies.
Okay, and those 4 series are
The
ARCA,
NASCAR, okay, so the ARCA series, the Xfinity, NASCAR Xfinity series, the Craftsman Truck series, and the NASCAR Cup series, which is their top level of racing.
Okay. And when did you actually get to the point where you have the NASCAR Cup Series parts, all of the body parts?
Well, we're in year 2 of the NASCAR Cup Series contract right now. They had steel bodies and some composite parts prior to that. It was supposed to start in 2000, but because of COVID, that kind of delayed it a year. So yeah, the first year on the track with the composite bodies was last year, 2022. This is year 2,
Okay.
and it's phenomenally successful. Everybody at NASCAR loves these bodies.
Okay, and how did that grow your business?
There's a lot of those body panels to make.
Yeah,
Lots
I
to
mean,
make.
I mean,
Yeah.
we're up to making, 1,000 of these parts a week potentially. Probably double what it used to be. For
Just
standard
composite
production
parts.
and composite
Just
parts.
composite
Yeah,
parts,
so
yeah.
it was a significant gain in part volume. There was a significant enough demand where last year we had to bring on 80 people just to staff the production demands that they had required, and it was a new rollout. We were actually at one point thousands of parts behind last year, but we overcame that. We got caught up. We changed some processes, but now we're caught up, and we got a good supply. But it's good business for us.
Are you working 3 shifts?
In some areas, yes. Yeah, mostly an 80-hour, 4-day-a-week shift, and then in composites, there's 2 weekend shifts. So yeah, busy 7 days a week.
Okay, and then you have a separate window division, which we've touched on, and some of the things they do. And they are also involved with NASCAR and those series?
Yes, yes. We've since we started making our own polycarbonate windows in 1993 or 94, that next year, the second year that we started making windows, NASCAR approved the use of polycarbonate to replace glass windshields. And we had that contract. We won that year, and we've had it ever since. So we make all the windows on fronts and rears and sides, and we developed a very, very high penetration resistant laminated windshield for the front of the cars that'll stop. Their test was shooting a 14-ounce projectile at 200 miles an hour at the window, and it bounces right off. And so definitely have some instances where we saved some lives because of that in the Cup racing in all NASCAR divisions. So very proud of that. And then, like Corey touched on too, with that technology, we make for law enforcement. There's a viewport in the shields that a lot of the SWAT teams and the police carry. We make a laminated viewport that's maybe 1.25 inches thick. That's, depending on the bullet, mostly bulletproof. So there's a lot of things like that. Heavy equipment, some of the things that you were talking about
So
that we're doing.
talk about some of those other things, Corey. I mean, he touched on the viewports. He touched on heavy. What do you do for heavy?
The nature of it is this: glass is an inexpensive product on the marketplace. It's got a lot of limitations, but it's used often because it's cheap and it's pretty durable. But in some instances, in extreme use, they break easily, and you could put the passenger or operators in harm's way. Forestry, rock quarries are some industries that are pretty rough on equipment, and they have experienced a lot of breakages or things that can harm the operators. So the nice thing about polycarbonate is it's much safer. So it's a safety upgrade whenever it's needed. It's also fits really well moving forward outside of heavy equipment, really, but it's lighter. Typically it's about half the weight of regular glass, so it's lighter and it's safer. And the technologies get to the point where it's just about it's scratch resistant as glass, and it's weatherable. It lasts a long time out in the harshest conditions. So it's becoming a very viable option in the marketplace today, where fuel economy. You want to save better mileage. You want to lightweight your car. You want to increase passenger safety. That fits perfectly in with what we do right now.
Okay, Your dad touched on, and you did too, about the viewports being a real highly specialized way that you've used polycarbonates. Is there any other specific specialized way that your polycarbonate windows have been put into things?
SpaceX.
Spaceship.
SpaceX.
Yeah,
SpaceX. What do you
yeah.
mean spaceship?
Well, SpaceX makes rockets that go into outer space. They make that's a big business in this country. So one of their space units that they send up into outer space on a regular basis, they wanted to put a viewport in there and send passengers up just for a ride. And so they did that last year. So we developed a large, totally optically perfect polycarbonate dome as a viewport for this SpaceX capsule. And it was a big project. We didn't make too many of them, but it's just something that was kind of cool to do. So we did that. We did that last year.
How many do you need to make? Isn't there only one?
We made 6.
Yeah.
We made 6. It was a several month-long project, but it's some of those things are kind of fun to do no matter what. You know, it's not about the
So
money.
you
sometimes.
make this strong polycarbonate window that tolerates all kinds of abuse, so to speak. But what about sealing it? Is there any issues regarding the sealing of those windows that can be an issue as opposed to just the window itself? Or how do you deal with that?
Well, that is a good point. But polycarbonate is everything that Corey said it was: strong, durable, doesn't break easily, but it scratches easily. And so we brought in a coating process in 2008 to apply mire-resistant, weatherable, anti-fog, different types of coatings for different applications for polycarbonate. And so we do that every day too. That's getting to be a 7-day-a-week operation probably by next month, hopefully sooner than later. But yeah, we apply all of these coatings of different materials, sometimes on a flat sheet, sometimes on a form part, and there's lots of opportunities there. And all of this came about, all of these other opportunities came about because of the quality expectations of the racing industry. They're some of the highest quality expectations in the world. And so if we can master that, then we can master other markets as well. So that's kind of what got our name out there. That's why people call us for things like, we didn't advertise the SpaceX, they come to see us.
No.
So.
Okay, and you mentioned looking and finding people. Do you find your employees around Twin Lakes? Are you getting people who want to work there from the West Coast, the East Coast, other places? Or are you fortunate to find them close to home?
We're very fortunate to be able to find a local pool of people from the area that want to work at 5 Star. We do get applicants from across the country, which is kind of cool too, that our name is out there and that people are interested in working here in Twin Lakes. So, but yeah, I would say for the majority of our staff, they live locally.
Okay. How many people do not work in Twin Lakes? Do you have a sales force? Do you have a
Probably
representative?
about 8 or 10.
Yeah, we've got an outside sales force throughout the country, mostly in the North Carolina area, just by chance, but we've got a distribution center in the Charlotte area, which is obviously a hub for NASCAR racing, and a lot of other racing clients are in that area too. So we service a warehouse there from our manufacturing facility in Twin Lakes, and we deliver there weekly. And we supply parts there for all of our distributors to come pick up parts from that warehouse. So we've got a staff running that, and then we've got a sales representative that calls on that market, and then we've got other sales reps around the country that call on their own particular markets.
Specific markets.
Yeah, specific markets.
How many NASCAR Cup Series cars are there for you to have body panels for?
There's around 40 teams, and each team is allowed to have 6 or 7 cars. So that rule changed over the last few years. They used to have many more than that, but NASCAR limits the amount of cars you can have to 6 or 7. So 40 times 7.
We're talking about 250, 300.
Just in the Cup Series, but the
Yeah.
Xfinity, there's at least that many, if not more. Truck Series, probably not quite that many. In the ARCA Series, a lesser number too. So
what a lot of people may not realize is just the amount of race cars that are out there in this country and the diversity in racing. Like we were laughing the other day because electric vehicles is becoming a big talk about in motorsports in the future. And I put it this way: if it's got a motor, they race it. You know, I mean, they figure it out. So racing's big in this country. There's a lot of different forms of race cars. It starts, you know, NASCAR is a premier racing division that's in the country, but there may be, you know, several hundred cars at the NASCAR level. When we talk about some of these cars and the dirt tracks around America, the grassroots racing, there could be upwards of 20,000 of a certain particular style of car out there and more. There is a lot out there.
That certainly is our biggest market. Yeah, I mean, I don't think a lot of people realize how many race cars, like Corey said, are in the country in every state. Wisconsin's a big state for auto racing. There's dirt tracks, paved tracks, and all of them use our stuff. And Wisconsin's no different than any other state. So that is a huge market, auto racing. And I don't think engines matter. You know, if we're left down to two cars, they'll race each other at some point in time. So.
Okay, do you watch NASCAR Cup Series?
I watch every race.
You watch every race.
Yeah.
When you see the cars going around the track and you see the accidents, do you say, we're going to have to make more parts?
It's funny. Okay, like it's like this. We joke about it at work, right? We're like the funeral home, you know, like, sorry for your loss, but thanks for the business.
Okay.
It's not that we're hoping for a big wreck. We're not praying for a demo derby. That's not it at all. We're race fans, and we love to go to watch races. They're very exciting and everything, but you know, sometimes they're extra panels.
Crashing is part of racing. That's part of the excitement of it. What we owe the market is providing the most durable products that can last longer. Like, obviously we're going to beat them up, but if they can get a few more uses out of them, a few more races, that's the point. Sometimes at the NASCAR level, they're just replacing everything every race anyway. So they can crash all they want, but it doesn't matter. They're replacing everything no matter what.
So if there's a dent in car number 14, they're going to get a new part next week?
That's right.
Yeah.
So it's not racing with a dent.
No. At that level, nope.
So tell me, what's the future of Five Star Fabricating?
These guys. And I have another son too,
And our
Garrett,
brother.
who runs the Windows division. He's not here. He's at a trade show in Las Vegas this week. So
how does it look? What's the future like?
future looks bright. There's a lot of new markets beyond what we have talked about that we're reaching out to with polycarbonate windows. NASCAR's got another division that they're starting up hopefully next year. So we're working on that, and we just keep our eyes on what's out there in our own markets that we provide parts for, and there seems like there's always something new coming up. So
it sounds like you're the leader of the pack right now. How do you stay there?
Innovation,
quality, service,
yeah.
simple stuff.
Yeah. I think in the markets that we serve and the high-end clientele that we have, they depend on us to keep pushing the limits of the technology that's available. Better materials, better processes, just always making improvements around safety, lightweighting, strength. I think if we can keep those up moving forward, you know, who knows what this could be, but I couldn't be more excited. Like I said before, with the lightweighting of vehicles, you know, passenger safety, the form clear products that we can make that have never been made before ever. We're just breaking through on who knows what could be. I don't know. I think if we just keep it up, there could be endless opportunities. I'm certainly excited about what the future looks. I think we got the coolest company, and we're looking at a great future.
For sure.
How big is the research and development department?
Well, it's kind of spread out. There's R&D going on everywhere. In fact, we're just talking about consolidating that into one specific division, but we have process engineering and development going everywhere in our coatings division, windows, composites, metals, you name it, everywhere. So there is a need for, we just hired another engineer in the composite division as well. I just happened to think of that, but there's a lot of that we have to do. High-tech stuff that we have to figure out, you know, so yeah, there's lots to do.
All right, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. This is great.